In this screencast, we're going to look at adding images to a page in Squarespace. And one of the great things about this is once we know how to add an image in one place, it's actually the same process all the way through Squarespace, whether we're adding them to blog posts or to pages or even in an event or anything like that. It's always the same process. So we only need to learn it once and then we can use it anywhere. So we're going to look at it on the homepage, and we've got some dummy content here. And as we looked at in our previous screencast, we're going to put the page into edit mode, which we do by clicking on this edit button here. And as you see, the page kind of expands to fill the entire browser and grays out the area around the parts that we don't need to worry about too much. So as we looked at before, we now have our indicators. As I hover the cursor over different kind of blank areas of the page, we get our indicators that we can add new content and our lines that indicate where the content will appear. When I click on an indicator, it will show me the types of content that I can add. Just scroll down to see how long that list is and scroll all the way back to the top, because the most common one that we want is up here in the top right hand corner, which is the image option. So I'm going to say that we want to add an image, and what happens is that a large grey box appears, and this represents where the image is about to appear. And you don't worry that it fills the whole screen at the moment. You can change that afterwards. So Squarespace has put it in and said we're going to fill the whole page with this image, and we're going to be able to change that in just a moment. But what we have to do is tell it which image we want to upload. And you'll see that we have a new window that's popped up over here on the right hand side. And this is the settings panel for the image that we're about to upload. And the top option that we have is add an image with our little upload icon here. So I'm going to click on that, and it's going to ask me which image I want to upload. I have a series of images here, and I'm just going to pick this one in the middle. And you'll see that we get a progress bar over here to show that our image is uploading. It will process and resize the image. All of this is being handled automatically by Squarespace. And just like that, our image has appeared. You'll see that our settings pane has changed really quickly as well to show our image up in the top with our edit and remove buttons. But we also have a series of other images. We can say where the caption will appear, what we want to name our file, which is actually really useful for SEO purposes. As you work with Measured Brilliance, we'll teach you the importance of what to name your file names so that Google are able to index them alongside the rest of your content. We have options about how to actually display the image, so stretches, whether the image should fill the area that you decide to pop it in, lightbox, which is whether it should pop up a little kind of slideshow when a visitor clicks on the image. And also a click-through URL, which is what do you want to happen when a user clicks on this image. You might want nothing, but you might want to select content either from the site, you might want to download a file, or send them to an external website altogether. These are all completely optional. If you choose to just leave the image as is and hit apply, it will just stay exactly where it is. And that's what we're going to do for this first one. We're just going to hit apply. And you'll see that we can see our image pretty large in the middle of our page here. So now what we need to know is how can I resize this image, or how can I rearrange it to appear where I want it to go? And as with the rest of the content on the page, when we're in an editable kind of, when the page is editable, we can actually move our cursor around. You'll see that as I drag it over the image, it turns into this hand symbol. And that means that we can grab and move our block around, our block that contains our image. So I'm going to click and hold, and you see that as I hold the mouse down, we get our image going kind of grayed out, kind of lighter, and I can move my cursor around, and you'll see that I get a black line or a black and gray box that indicates where the image is going to appear. And I can do this with actually any content block. We're just using it for images here. It's really helpful. And so as I drag it right over to the right hand side, I get this indicator that says it's going to create a column to the right, and I'm going to let go of my mouse button now, and now we have our image just displaying really neatly to the right of the text. Really helpful. Now, a couple of other kind of more advanced tips now that we know that we can upload an image and that we can move it around. If I click back on the edit button that appears when I hover the cursor over the image, we get our settings panel back up. And what you'll see is that we have this little dot at the bottom of our block here. And as I hover the cursor over it, you'll see that the icon changes to be this little double-headed arrow. And I can actually click and drag up and down to resize the image. I might want it to match the size of my content a little closer, which is very helpful. And so that looks pretty great. That looks pretty close to my content. and it's automatically chosen the center of my image to remain in this part. But I kind of like the look of that area in the background, which has the city and the sky above it. So how do I get that to be in my image now that I've made it smaller? Well, if we come back over to our settings panel on the right hand side, we have our focal point here in the little settings panel. You see that a description box appears when I hover over it. And what I can actually do is click and hold and drag that focal point up and down. And you see that I can completely change the part of the image that then displays in our kind of resize box. So I might want this kind of more sky and this kind of cloudy area in the background. And that's now what appears when the image is at that size. So I can apply those changes. And what I can do is then save my page. Remember, none of our changes are saved until we've decided to hit that save button in the top left. And that is our image appearing directly in our page. So that's how we add images to Squarespace. If you have any problems, get in touch with us, and we're happy to help you out.